Hello, my name is Tommy and welcome back to TR Street Mag. Today's topic is focused on the importance of networking with other photographers. Today we will focus on why being alone will limit your voice, why connection means better growth, understanding other photography methods from other people, and how to find your own creative network. TR Street Mag provides you with valuable street photography insights, new perspectives, and helps you become more creative. If you do enjoy these weekly episodes, make sure to drop me a follow. Recently, I have noticed that networking is such a vital part of being a creative, especially in the photography world. And from going to many events over the last 6 months, I have noticed that community is one of the most valuable things that you can be part of as a creative, not just to get your own work out there, but to also learn from others and also to show other people more creative and more efficient ways of doing things. So I recently went to an event in London with my friend, and as we both go to university, our university, it hosts a lot of workshops and community events where people can kind of get involved with each other. They can share their passions and people can understand how they can help other people, and they can also collaborate on various projects. So we went to London to meet people, from another campus who did various types of things. So some people worked in media, some people worked in music. Like myself, I do photography, and there were people there who do video and people there who do like film, media, documentary, all that kind of stuff. So it's really just important for me and also for my friend to just kind of go there and kind of talk to people and see, you never know how many common interests you might have with someone else. So that's one of the many events that I've been to over the last 6 months, I'd say. So there's been other opportunities where I've been in a space around people who've maybe worked in the industry for a lot of years, and they're able to pass on valuable insights to you and make you think, why should I be doing something differently in my own photography? So one of those that stood out for me, especially at university, is that we had a photography lecturer, like a guest lecture basically, and this girl who uses digital cameras, but she edits in like a film style, and she worked with some of, since she's 18 years old, she's worked with some of the most famous artists around the world, and it's pretty much from just putting her work out there and doing a lot of stuff for free. But in discovering this girl, I've discovered that when you're working in like various lighting conditions, that it's not a bad thing to try and use auto white balance, and there's nothing wrong with setting your white balance and stuff, but if you've ever experienced in street photography where you're constantly in different environments, the light changes, some light sources are very warm and some are very cool, and you can be in an environment where you have both of them. You also have like LED lights, and when you've got lots of different light sources going on, it can be really hard to get a certain look in your photos. So this is why it's really important to use auto white balance when you are in those scenarios. Now, you can use your own white balance. You can set your white point with a piece of white card, or like a white wall, or a neutral colour. Of course you can do that, but there are scenarios where auto white balance, you just let the camera choose for you. And then when you come to edit, even if you don't, when you come to edit, you can always let Lightroom do the same thing. So I would never have learned that if I'd never had some sort of guest lecture from someone who's in the industry. So this is why it's so important to make these kind of connections. You know, even if they are online, you know, lots of people attend online workshops and they attend like photo walks. I mean, Fuji have hosted a lot of events with a lot of photographers who are kind of changing the way that photography is being perceived, and you know, people that do things outside of the box. Those people are the really good people to learn from, in my opinion. So yeah, this is why being alone will kind of limit your voice, because you'll always have your way of doing things, and I feel like you'll grow the most when you're around other photographers, or you know, it could be as simple as literally just watching videos on YouTube. You're watching videos on YouTube, and you know, you're connecting with other creators. You're connecting with people, and you're wondering why do they do this like this. You know, that can be networking. That, of course, that's a form of networking. But it's really important to have these connections in person as well. It's important to have people that, you know, you can go and take photos with, and you can go and understand why do they do things the way that they do them, and why do they practice, and you know, and vice versa. You can do the same thing for them. So yeah, connection really means better growth. Once you're around other people, you know, they'll do little life hacks, you know, like the thing that I discovered with the auto white balance. You know, a lot of people will talk about using their auto ISO and stuff like that, but it's also important to learn from those kind of mentors out there. You don't necessarily need to have a mentor, you know, and it can be good to have a mentor, of course it can, but it's also why it's good to make other photography friends, because, you know, I'm friends with people who use film cameras. It's literally all they use, and obviously I don't use film cameras. I've never touched one. I'd love to. I absolutely would love to, and I will be doing that in the future. But you know, people like say, "Oh, how do you edit like the way you edit?" Because you know, I do love the film style, but I'm just such a big fan of being able to take a photo and then like do something with it straight away. I don't know what it is. Like, even if there's a bit of a process behind it, and you know, I don't know if people, you know, people will know this from film and stuff, but if anyone can remember dodging and burning, so dodging and burning's like one of the most famous effects that you can use. It's essentially what masks in Lightroom are there to do. Masks are there to like dodge and burn. Obviously, some people will absolutely abuse it, but obviously, I guess you could say that people do that as well in the dark rooms. You know, you'll never know how many times people would do that. But yeah, like little things like this. But you know, you learn that over time. You learn that off other people, and some people do it effectively. And you know what? You don't even really need to dodge and burn. To be honest, like you can create different apertures. You know, with like people use different filters, for example, to, you know, create different shapes on the front of their camera. Yeah, I think for a street photography perspective, I think, yeah, connection is really good. Like, I host workshops, right? And it's a chance for other people to like collaborate, like people who don't necessarily know each other, but you know, they're here to do the same thing. They're here to do street photography, right? So I think it's just important to make some friends, you know, whether that's online or in person. But if you ever see any workshops or any photo walks, like, I highly recommend going to them. And it's something that I want to do more of myself over the next year, and I might even host some. So yeah, we'll see. It's important to understand other photographers' methods. So like, for example, I'll use the person's workshop that I went to. So, like I say, Fujifilm have hosted many like online. I think it was more of like a, you know, like a show and tell session than a workshop, but it was showing Tom Bergamont or something like that. Anyway, he's a German photographer and he lives in LA. So he is a master of double exposure photography, and he layers like dark silhouettes with, bright lights and stuff like this. Or he finds like a big bright light and waits for someone to like walk in front of it, and he layers his photography. He uses like a mixture of wide angle lenses and zoom lenses, but he'll keep, because like Fujifilm cameras can capture up to 9 exposures in a row, more of a in-camera feature. So anyway, it's one of the great things about Fujifilm cameras. But he was showing how he paints light by using the darker areas to, kind of paint. It's light painting, basically, light painting. But it was really interesting how he does it. And since I took that workshop, it's given me the chance to experiment. Deja Mez, so she's like a mixed media artist, and what she does is she takes a photo, but it's like imagine like a bowl, or like a little box, and like full of water, and she'll place like a photo inside of it in the middle, right? And she'll get a paintbrush, and she'll basically get a second photo, and she'll layer that photo over the top. And I'm not sure, like I say, I'm not sure the process, but basically the photo detaches from the paper, and then she uses the paintbrush to guide that other photo on top of the first photo. So I'm literally watching one right now. So she's dragged this. I'm not sure, like I say, I'm not sure she's taken the original photo, but it's taken a photo of these buildings, right? Just looking up at some buildings, right? And then she's taken a photo of a plane, and it's got this like orange background, and she's basically just dragged it almost like a double exposure. It's even things like that. It's like an art form. Of course, photography is an art form as well, but just think like you can do these things with your own camera, right? You don't need to be doing mixed media, but there's people out there who, she probably does take these photos, She probably does take these photos. Like I say, I'm not entirely sure, but I saw it, and it's good to follow people like that. It's good to follow people and even meet people in person and question why did they do that. As much as social media is draining, social media can be a great opportunity to network with other people, especially if you see someone's photo online that you like, and if you got 10 likes. If you like it and you really, really like it, and you look through their profile and you're like, ooh, I'm going to follow this person. And they probably follow you back, because, maybe not many people follow them. But it's like little things like that. You'll make connections with people, and you'll ask them, why do they do this? The last thing I wanted to talk about is how to find a network or create your own. So like we just mentioned with Instagram, so Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, you can create groups on most of these apps, right? So creating a group chat is really, really good, because you can have like your own little network on there. You can all talk in there, you can share your ideas, you can do all sorts of things. But yeah, I would highly recommend going to the workshops, getting a little bit of mentoring, even going to some online classes, and you'll often bump into the same people, right? So then, just talk to them. You might not, one of you might be a landscape photographer, and one of you's a street photographer, or most of you are street photographers. But I think it's really important to kind of mix and match with other genres of photography, because you'll take things that they've done and then you'll do those things yourself in your own work. Like I've been looking at macro photography lately, and the reason I've been looking at macro photography lately, it's not because I want to take pictures of insects and stuff. is because I really like raindrops, and I actually saw so there's a YouTuber called The Art of Photography, and you may have heard of his channel. He was reviewing some abstract street textures, and there was one called Neon Rain. And it's basically just the city at night, and it was just loads of just raindrops on different surfaces, and I assumed that it was raindrops on cars, which I was right. He said that in the video, it was raindrops on cars, on his car, and he basically parked his car in front of neon signs. Every time it was raining, he'd take a picture of the raindrops, and I just thought that was great, and yeah, something I definitely want to do more of. And another thing that I really love, and I've seen lots of different people doing this online, is with the raindrops, you take a picture of raindrops, right, say like a restaurant window, and the lights inside behind the window, using your manual focus ring and a wider aperture, you get a lovely bouquet in the background. And so you focus on the raindrops, and then you're making the lights inside, really big. So these big like bouquet balls, they're just absolutely beautiful. So that's something that I want to do more of in my own photography. So yeah, it's like little things like this. So just making important connections with people and just asking people, why do you do this and why do you do that? Yeah, of course, I definitely recommend try and go on photo walks, try and understand why people use certain settings, try and understand whether you want to use auto white balance or you want to just keep manually setting your white balance. But yeah, I definitely recommend trying and get yourself involved in some groups, or there's even like stuff like shows out there. There's actually a show coming up in March at the NEC in the UK. So the Photography and Video Show 2026 is the 14th to 17th of March, and it's in Birmingham at the NEC. So I am actually planning to be there. So if you want to meet me, yes, I will be there. It's like even just going to some sort of shows or exhibitions, art galleries, all sorts of stuff. Like it doesn't necessarily mean that your network has to be all photographers. It could be photographers and artists and graphic designers, because at the end of the day, remember that photography it's an art form. Most people who shoot video, for example, shoot film, for example, they get all of their ideas, the kind of lighting setups and stuff like this. They get it from old films. That's where everything comes from. It all comes from old films. So this is what I'm saying. It's important to have some sort of network. It's important to be able to understand different concepts and blend that into your own work. So thank you for listening to today's episode. If you did enjoy, please feel free to leave a comment and drop me a follow so that we can stay connected. I also run my own workshops and provide mentoring to all levels of photographers. So if that's something you'd be interested in, you can head to my website and look for my contact page, which will have all the details of how you can contact me. I will see you in the next episode.